All right, folks, I'm back. I have to get on and talk about these Trump appointees. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. I mean, these aren't. I'll put it this way: if I were in Trump's position, I wouldn't be appointing the exact same people. I'd be appointing people that I'm particularly fond of. But considering that this is Trump grading on somewhat of a curve, saying, hey, you know what, he's going to pick people that he likes. He's not going to pick the exact people that I want. These picks are pretty great because, at the very least, what you can say about almost every major Trump appointment so far is that these are people who no one in Washington wants in these positions. This is what Trump should have done at the beginning of his first term. There's no point in having an outsider president if he's surrounded with insiders. That's what we learned. That is the lesson of the first Trump administration, because what happened to Trump was he came into Washington. He tried to play nice. He appointed Washington people to be in his administration, and they subverted him. They deceived him. They attempted to destroy him. They wanted him locked in prison. They tried to kill him over and over again for the last 8 years. For the 4 years that he was president, they tried, and for the 4 years since he's been president, they've been trying to take him down. And so what Trump needed to do, now that he's coming back to the White House, God willing, in January, is he needed to make sure that his administration was staffed by people who, one, don't hate him and his voters, two, won't deceive him, and three, actually share the values and goals of him and his voters. And so, at every federal department, what he needs more than anything is a bowl and china shop. The last thing he needs is to promote from within. And so far, that seems to be what he's doing. Pete Hegseth, am I a big fan of the guy? No. But from Trump's perspective, I completely understand the pick. I see why he would pick Pete Hegseth, not because of necessarily what his specific policy beliefs are, but because of who he is. He is someone who is very clearly, I think, he would be an outsider at the Pentagon. And he is someone who is tapped in, I think, to Trump's base and understands why Trump is in Washington. He understands what the mission is. Even if Pete Hegseth's specific ideas are things that I might necessarily agree with, even if I think he said some crazy things about Iran in the past, even if I worry that he's a little too agreeable when it comes to whatever Israel wants to do at any given time. But then you could say that for Trump himself and many people in this administration. This is going to be a very pro-Israel administration, and there's no way around that. But the simplest way of looking at most of these appointments are the people in these departments and these agencies, are they going to be happy to work under this person that Trump has appointed? In the case of Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, I think the answer is absolutely no. The worst people at the Pentagon are furious at this appointment. And so for now, that's good enough for me to say, let's wait and see. But today is when we got two monumental, stupendous appointments. We got the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General. The Director of National Intelligence under Donald Trump apparently is going to be Tulsi Gabbard, which is fantastic. That is a great place to put her because she is an enemy of the intelligence community. She is someone who is considered to be an Assad toady, a Russian asset, a foreign agent, although not legally. She's not actually a foreign agent. There are a lot of unregistered foreign agents in Washington, but she is not one of them. And so this is the exact place that I think she should be. This is what she's best on. She is best when it comes to dealing with the spy agencies. I don't even think that she's necessarily the best when it comes to like foreign policy because, there's part of the war on terror, she thinks was not a mistake. She thinks that part of it, that it was misguided, but that a lot of the war on terror, was good and should have happened. Her problem was with the intelligence agencies supporting Al-Qaeda, which, hey, if you're gonna have an issue with American foreign policy, that's a pretty good place to start. Let's stop funding Al-Qaeda. And so over and over, when it comes to all the evils of the spooks of the CIA, of the FBI, and the other alphabet agencies, 9 times out of 10, Tulsi Gabbard's been on the right side of those issues. And so having her be the director of national intelligence, overseeing all of these agencies, having access to what they're doing, knowing what they're up to, essentially acting as Trump's watchdog on the spooks. Fantastic. And that brings me to Matt Gaetz. God willing, our next Attorney General. Matt Gaetz is a very interesting pick. It's a pick that has set Washington on fire this evening. They are, their hair is on fire. Their eyes have turned red. There is blood spurting from their ears. There's blood pouring out of their wherever. Because in Washington, Matt Gaetz is viewed as an enemy of the state. He is not just someone who is against the Washington program. He's not just someone that they have disagreements over. He's someone who they personally despise. It's someone who the average member of Congress would like to see dead. Someone who they would smile at the headline seeing that he had been assassinated. They hate Matt Gaetz this much. And that, in and of itself, is not worthy of merit. It's not just that he's hated. It's that their hatred is the most positive signal of virtue that I could imagine. Being hated by DC is not in and of itself a virtue. But it just so happens that the folks in DC feel the most hatred towards some of the best people on this planet. And so the stronger their reaction to Matt Gaetz's appointment, the more enthused I become. And a lot of people are saying that the appointment of Matt Gaetz is, it's clearly a troll. Trump he's not actually serious. He would never put Matt Gaetz in charge of the Department of Justice. No, the Department of Justice, that's a serious institution, for people like, Bill Barr and Merrick Garland, respectable prosecutors. Those are the folks who should be in charge of the Department of Justice. Trump knows that. He would never appoint some loudmouth like Matt Gaetz to be the head of that department. No. Well, personally, let's just go over let me finish the case. I want to steelman this as best I can. They're saying this because by throwing out a crazy appointment like Matt Gaetz, it's going to be impossible to get through the Senate, it makes all of Trump's other appointments look less ridiculous in comparison, and therefore, the folks in Washington will expend all of their outrage trying to stop Matt Gaetz from becoming Attorney General, that they will blow their political capital and be unable to block all of Trump's other appointments, who are also going to be difficult to get through, but not nearly as radioactive as Matt Gaetz. And so I understand the logic there. But I disagree for 2 reasons. One, it makes Trump look weak, because the appointment that's going to get the most attention from the media, that is going to generate the most headlines, is Matt Gaetz. And so everyone in the country is going to know, hey, Trump wants Matt Gaetz to be his Attorney General. And if Trump gives up on that, he looks very weak. They're not going to hear about all these other smaller people who Trump was able to get confirmed because he played the 4D chess move of trying to push through Matt Gaetz and failing, and in doing so succeeded getting a bunch of other people through. But the general public's not going to hear that. They're just going to see, Trump wanted this one guy, he failed, Trump is a weakling, end of story. Trump doesn't want to look weak. Trump doesn't like being weak. Trump is a strong man. And I don't mean he's a strong man in the sense he's a dictator. I mean, he is someone who wants to feel strong. He wants to be respected. He wants to command authority. So that's the first point why I don't think that why this is some 40 chess move. 2, Attorney General, the head of the Department of Justice, is, I think, for Trump personally, probably the most important decision he has made, aside from picking a vice president. Because it is the Department of Justice which sabotaged the first Trump administration. It's the Department of Justice which tried to lock Trump up for being a Russia colluder, for being a Russian agent. It is the Department of Justice which investigated him for 4 years, looking for any possible process crime that they could find, any clerical error that they could use to justify throwing him in prison. It is the Department of Justice that raided his home, where he should feel the most safe and secure, in the middle of the night, stole that sense of security so that he will never feel safe again. It's the Department of Justice which has failed to dig up any information on the 2 attempts on Trump's life this year, the 2 attempted assassinations. Need I go on? Trump has had a lot of problems with the Department of Justice. And so I would think that is where Trump is the least willing to compromise. Trump needs an attorney general who he can be 100% certain 6 ways to Sunday will never turn against him. Someone who is so radioactive that he knows they have no loyalty to anyone else in Washington but him. And Matt Gaetz fits that bill to a T. There is no one in Washington who Matt Gaetz feels any loyalty towards other than Trump and, well, other members of Congress perhaps who are also on Trump's side. But Matt Gaetz has absolutely no love for congressional leadership. He has no love for the intelligence agencies. After all, the FBI was trying to lock Gaetz up on some trumped-up charges that didn't end up going anywhere, but they tried to smear him as, statutory rape? Is that what they were going to try and get him on? Say that he had relations with a 17-year-old or something? Anyway, that might be an important reason why Matt Gaetz is such a good pick, because they've already tried to smear him. They've already tried to take him down and compromise him, and that seemingly went nowhere. He's still in the House. He's still in the same position that he was in before. Those charges never went anywhere, probably because there was nothing to them, but they tried, clearly, to blackmail him. They tried to run this sort of op on him, and it didn't work. And so now that he's survived that, he's stronger than ever. You can't exactly run an op like that again once you've already done it once and failed. And furthermore, that has, if nothing else, helped radicalize Gaetz against the same people who tried to take down Trump the first time and are prosecuting the January 6ers and other Trump supporters, such as, what was his name? Is it Willie Oakes? Alfie Oakes, that's what it was. Alfie Oakes down in Naples. And the Poly Market CEO, they're getting raided now. He had his phone seized by the FBI. The FBI is out of control, and so you need your staunchest loyalist in charge of the Department of Justice. And you need someone likewise to be in charge of the FBI. Some people have floated the possibility of Kash Patel being the director of the FBI. Matt Gaetz and Kash Patel would be a tag team, the likes of which Washington has never known. And so it's these sorts of disruptive appointments that Trump needs the most. This is the key to the success of Trump's next administration. After all, it's the old cliche, personnel is policy. And so I don't care if the Senate doesn't like it, if the country club doesn't approve, because this is what the voters actually voted for. People overwhelmingly voted for Trump, and the Republicans in Congress barely won a majority in both houses. That's because people were much more enthusiastic to go vote for Trump than they were these slimy Republican members of Congress. So with that said, I'll see you folks back here in the next one.